You're back with another one. This time we got top 10 anime villains of this decade by VinnyTube. Make sure y'all like that video, sub to their channel, like this video, sub to this channel. Add that to your watch later. Cause that's cool. Um, yeah, let's get into it. I love VinnyTube, so let's get into it.
Before give a shout out to this video sponsor, Last Claudia. Last
Yeah,
Claudia is a
get your
mobile
money.
RPG without opposition. Thankfully, the past decade's given us many iconic villains, and for this week's edition of the Top 10 lists, we're going through some of the best. Before we enter a new year and a new decade, let's take a look at some of the most compelling, badass, or entertaining anime villains of the past decade.
Obviously, we're pretty late, so you know it's like 2010 to 2020. It's not current date.
諸君、私は戦争が大好きだ。
We start off with the war-obsessed villain from Hellsing, the Major. Now, his scheme set the foundation for the story's conflicts. Few can match how deranged the Major is. As someone who loves all aspects of war, the consequences of war didn't matter much to him nor which side he ended up on. As long as there's bloodshed, it's enough to satisfy this crazy villain. Then again, what else could you expect from the commander of Nazi vampires hell-bent on the destruction of London? Even Alucard at his worst doesn't come close to how sick and terrible the Major can be. Ironically, for someone who loves war so much, the Major's actually a terrible fighter. Nevertheless, his masterful maneuvering and manipulations get him the ending that he wants. Despite his plans not completely sticking, the Major exits the stage of Hellsing a victor, a fulfilled and happy man.
Yeah, he got what he wanted. He got war. Got what he wanted.
As a long series with the legacy it has, it's no surprise that One Piece has its own colourful and intriguing villains. Among those, Doflamingo is arguably my favourite. His glasses, his overall aura, his quotable speeches, there's a lot to like about Doflamingo. He's intimidating and entertaining despite being a powerful threat to our heroes. And let's not forget his creativity with his powers. It helps that he's one of the few villains in media whose backstories don't completely redeem him. Yes, he was abused and had a typical sob story background, but I'd argue that Doflamingo was already a dick to begin with anyway. His experiences merely drove him further into villainy, and I think that's one detail that we can appreciate with how his character gets developed.
Doflamingo's a boss. The thing that pisses me off is I don't have enough Doflamingo. I don't have enough. They take too long to dub. It too long. They're going at a crazy pace now. But before, if they were consistent when they started dubbing, the dub would be right there with the sub. Like, it would have been right there. But they kept taking years. Like, literally at one point they took a year to drop a batch of 10 episodes. I was like, are they done? Like, what's going on? There was 1 year they just literally didn't drop a single dub for that show. I don't know what happened. I don't know the story behind it, but I was heated. That was a bad year. That was 2020 actually. I'm pretty sure that was 2020. That was a bad year. It was horrible. Could have definitely used One Piece in that year.
この世界を壊すのは俺だ。
If I were to describe Takasugi in one word, I'd use charisma. A brooding figure, the enigmatic Takasugi served as the primary villain in the series, up to the introduction of Utsuro at least. Nevertheless, I'd say the former still the more appealing between the two. One good thing in my opinion about Takasugi is that his backstory and motives were kept in the dark for most of his story. At first he seems to be a one-dimensional, edgy villain known for his goal of revenge against the world, a character only being kept aloft by fangirls. Then comes his backstory, and we find out there's really more to this villain than meets the eye. He's truly a good example of a victim of circumstance. I guarantee that I'm not alone in the camp of people whose perspective of him changed after seeing the story from his point of view.
I still haven't watched Gintama. I have seen this. He was a good villain.
The beauty of Psycho Pass is that it's a series that strikes home quite a bit, and it certainly makes you think about the repercussions of some systems of the real world. Personally speaking, I find Psycho Pass's world quite dystopic in some angles, which is why Makishima at one point comes across as a very interesting character. Set with the goal to liberate society from the Sibyl system, he presents himself as a dark messiah blessed with enlightenment. His natural charisma attracts numerous followers, and he masterfully organizes murders in his quest to overthrow the Sibyl system, the greatest evil from his point of view. Despite all of his parading as a savior, he basically just does things out of a personal vendetta. This character is especially relevant in modern society, considering that he's a product of a world and a society that denied him his right to exist. Not too different from the newest incarnation of Joker, eh?
But who is the villain? Is he really the villain? Or is the villain the civil system? Think about that. It's deep. You gotta think about that.
あとはまああとは君への嫌がらせかな。
Now here's a wild card of a villain. Ikebukuro's knowledge broker's a simple character, a manipulative and sleazy person who enjoys chaos and conflict. While he's a villain through and through, he goes about his business in a more affable way, being more of a bystander who loves witnessing chaos consume people and their resulting reactions. Let's just say that Izai is a troll more than anything else, a chaotic neutral one that you're better off avoiding if you value your sanity. Needless to say, this puts him at odds with the blunt and abrasive Shizuo, who sees him for what he is. Finally meeting his match, he finds the blonde man a worthy rival, and their battles are legends all over the busy ward.
This man's just doing his job.
なんだてめえは人の部屋におい勝手に入ってきてんじゃん
Okay. Diamond is unbreakable.
Wait, a JoJo representative in a top 10 list that isn't Dio? What madness is this? Well, listen, just hear me out for a while. Make no mistake, Dio is a very entertaining villain because of how over the top he is. The cartoonishly evil stint and the feud with Jonathan's cool and all, but have you ever taken a good look at Kira? I believe Kira's a far more compelling villain because of how unique he is for a serial killer. Kira's...
Okay, I hear you. I hear you. But did he burn a dog alive? I rest my case. That's all I gotta say. I rest my case.
Neither a super genius,
kind dog, too,
nor
not an evil
batshit
dog.
insane. Instead, he's just a plain old murderer. No justifications, no conscience. He's just a villain given powers and acting on his instincts. The scary part of this is how relatable Kira can be. Everyone at some point has just wanted a quiet life. He doesn't have a grand motivation in doing the things he's doing. He's just following his instincts and his own mental desires. We even see the story from his perspective, and I think that makes Kira a great villain representative for the JoJo series.
豚にも劣るアングなデエンジンどもよ
Why is every JoJo character just so stunning? They're just disgustingly beautiful. Like, that'd be pissing me off. I'd be like, why do you look like that? Chiseled ass face, beautiful like body, like it don't make sense. Man, woman, don't matter.
Vinland Saga's been picking up steam as expected, and it's in large part due to its compelling
Draw an
villain,
ugly character,
Askeladd.
please.
In a series about Vikings, you'd expect the antagonist to be a badass, rugged man with overwhelming
take that
power.
axe
You know, probably a
other way.
burly man that
Cut
doesn't
right
give a
through it.
damn and just slays anything while looking cool. That description's not completely wrong for Askeladd, but it's not exactly right either. What makes him so dangerous isn't his overwhelming power, although he's no slouch in that department either. I think Askeladd's key trait is his ability to read people. He's a master of deception, and you have to be at the top of your game when facing him. One wrong read, and Askeladd will gladly make you pay. Overall, he's a lot more complex than he seems. This makes him a dangerous foe that Thorfinn must overcome. I'd even go as far as to say that he's been more of a main character than Thorfinn himself.
くそ
次元が違う
神の力か
Oh, yeah, we done. We fucked. Yeah.
Once more, we welcome
Ain't shit we
Madara
could do.
to another list. When I first heard of the legendary leader of the Uchihas, my expectations were off the roof. As he made his appearance in the Great Ninja War, those expectations were met, and then some. He entered the war as expected, a well-oiled machine of destruction. No one came close to matching his strength, tactics, and power mastery. From the onset, which is one of the greatest one-man army fights in Shonen, by the way, all the way to his battles against the main guys, Madara didn't disappoint as expected from someone that has been built up in the way he was. I'd say that the way he was defeated was a bit of a cop-out though. It's as if Kishi realized that he made Madara too powerful already, so he just conveniently disposed of him.
If they had actually just straight up beat him, like, no other BS, like they beat him, sealed him, or sealed Zetsu, and like, you know, they had a better happy ending or something, you know, like, oh, he'd be like he was misled all along by Black Zetsu, and like Zetsu was really, you know, but they had to go throw in Kaguya, and like they could have just said like Zetsu was the one to make him that way, and they just had to seal Zetsu instead, and then Madara would have been, you know, Talk no Jutsu or something. I don't know, but like it would have been better off than what they got, because I really didn't like the Kaguya stuff. I mean, it was good, But it was a waste of the build that Madara had and like all the power and just everything. Like it just felt like she was so left field that it didn't feel earned when they beat her. It just didn't feel earned. Okay, yeah, Aizen should be up here.
Of course, Aizen has to find his way back into one of these lists again. Bleach has been finished for quite some time already, but has there been a lot of villains with a legacy like Aizen throughout these years? Besides his broken powers and seemingly endless transformations, Aizen's most known for mind games. His powers of illusion already play to that. Few can outmaneuver Aizen in a battle of wits. Whatever plan or strategy you bring, say goodbye to it, as Aizen will have a counter to it, whether it be a carefully crafted plan or the simple act of overpowering whatever you have with his superior Ryatsu. Few can stand against Aizen at the top of his game. Add immortality and overly tuned combat abilities to his superior intellect and you have a formidable opponent. He gets some nice development angles centered on his loneliness at the top, but I'm sure what most people know Aizen for are his broken abilities and near insatiable desire for control and power.
Literally every ability Aizen had was broken as hell. Like his Bankai is so stupidly broken. It's like, how did he just not win right there immediately? He didn't have to, you know, reveal his plans. He's just cocky. He could have just straight up been like, nothing's here is happening. And they're all gonna be like, you right. None happened, and you just disappear. You be, this man is Sosuke Aizen. Alright. Yeah. What's up, Aizen? Have that random dude die in the field, you're dead. You're gone. It don't matter. You didn't have to do that complicated of a plan. If you simplify it, you got complete, utter control over their mind. Simplify it.
He's truly a once-in-a-lifetime villain, and it's not surprising that the downfall of Bleach began when he went down.
I was hyped to see what was after Aizen. I'm not gonna
Standing tall at the top is Meruem. The main villain of Hunter x Hunter's Chimera Ant arc finds himself at the top as a perfect antithesis to our protagonists. The strongest Chimera Ant, Meruem's a ruthless beast who knows no mercy, none more blatant than his actions on his debut episode. The great thing about Meruem is his development. Starting off as the ace that gives no value to life, he slowly develops into a complete character. Despite starting off as a sociopath, the Meruem you see by the end of the arc is a completely different and complex character by all means. As his experiences with the rest of the world accumulate, he eventually starts leaning towards becoming a character that's still a villain, but now carries some justification for his actions. In the end, it can be argued that Meruem's the key character in the Chimera Ant arc. It's his development that we see and follow after all. Now that's something that not all villains can make a claim to. Other villains might match Meruem in some areas such as outright popularity, but having this much development and complexity is something that sets the Chimera Ant King apart from a lot of anime villains this decade. So what do you think about this list? For me, these are some of the top anime...
That was lit. This show, like at this arc, it was starting to feel more like the show was about the world of hunters instead of Gon and Killua. But it was just kind of choosing to follow them because it brought them around the world of hunters. Unless I'm just late to the party and like everybody figured that out. You know, like it was obvious as hell. Like I thought it was about Gon and Killua. Just Gon, and then Killua was there like helping him. I might just be slow, but you know, it was cool departure from, you know, following just the normal ass characters, even though they're still good characters. It's just it was nice to see everybody else, especially like after the Chimera Ant arc, you got to see Leorio again. It was nice. Where did Kurapika go? Kurapika really ain't do much, didn't he? Did he? Did he even show up in that arc? I don't remember. If he did, he was so inconsequential that it didn't matter. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Like the video if you liked it. Comment, subscribe. You know what to do. You know what to do. You might like some of the other videos. You probably don't want to keep seeing this on your recommended. So you might as well hit the subscribe button. All right, I'm out. Peace.